Most men believe wealth begins with money. It does not. Wealth begins with the condition of the mind. Before a man earns differently, he thinks differently, and this is why two people can earn the same amount, yet live completely different lives. One becomes calmer, the other becomes desperate. One slowly builds freedom, the other builds a prison with better furniture. Because wealth is not a number first, it is a stage of consciousness. The Stoics understood this long before modern finance existed. The Stoic Seneca once warned that poverty is not merely having little, but endlessly craving more. And that is the part modern society refuses to confront. Many people are not poor because they lack opportunity. They are poor because desire controls them, because appetite controls them, because impulse controls them. And until a man changes his relationship with desire, money only magnifies his confusion. You can see this everywhere now. People earning more than ever, yet sleeping less. Buying more, yet enjoying less. Consuming endlessly, yet feeling emotionally empty. Because wealth without inner discipline creates psychological slavery. And so today, we must speak about the 5 stages of wealth, not financial levels, but the psychological levels, because every person watching this is standing somewhere within them, and most never leave stage 3. Part 1. Survival wealth. The first stage is survival. This is where money exists only to stop pain. Bills, food, rent, emergency. At this stage, fear dominates financial behavior. The mind becomes reactive. Every expense feels dangerous. Every setback feels catastrophic. The person cannot think long-term because survival compresses time. This is why poverty often creates impulsive decisions. Not because poor people are foolish, but because fear shortens vision. The Stoic Epictetus understood this deeply. A frightened mind cannot reason clearly, and modern society quietly exploits this stage. Fearful people are easier to manipulate. They buy emotionally, borrow emotionally, work emotionally. They become exhausted because every decision feels urgent. The tragedy is not simply lack of money. The tragedy is psychological captivity. And yet, this stage can also create wisdom. Some people leave survival with discipline. Others leave survival with permanent fear. The same hardship creates different men, because suffering does not automatically produce wisdom. Reflection does. You are correct. A starving man does not need quotes. He needs food, but listen carefully. The problem is not earning money. The problem is believing money alone removes fear. I need you and everyone to know this. There are wealthy men still trapped in survival. Their bank accounts changed, their nervous systems did not. All right, let's dive into the next one. Part 2. Comfortable slavery. This is the second stage, and perhaps the most dangerous, because life begins to improve here. Their income rises, their comfort increases. The person can finally breathe, but instead of using comfort to create freedom, they use it to upgrade dependency, a larger apartment, a more expensive lifestyle, status purchases, endless subscriptions, debt disguised as success. Now the person must maintain appearances, and this creates a new form of fear. Not survival fear, but status fear. Many men do not spend money to live. They spend it to be seen. And once a man becomes emotionally dependent on appearances, he is no longer free. The Stoic Marcus Aurelius warned repeatedly about this. How quickly human beings surrender themselves to public opinion. How easily they trade peace for approval. Modern culture calls this ambition. The Stoics called it bondage, because the luxurious man often becomes the least free. He cannot slow down, cannot rest, and he cannot simplify. His identity now requires maintenance, and so he remains anxious, even while appearing successful. This is why some wealthy people secretly envy simple lives. Not because simplicity is glamorous, but because simplicity still contains peace. Part 3. Strategic wealth. Few people reach this stage, because this is where emotion finally begins losing authority. The person starts understanding delayed gratification. They stop asking, "What do I want now?" and begin asking, "What creates freedom later?" This changes everything. Money becomes strategic. Calm replaces impulse. Patience replaces performance. The individual begins investing, not emotionally, but rationally. And here is something society rarely teaches. Real wealth grows quietly. Loud wealth is often fragile. The Stoics deeply respected restraint, not because restraint looks impressive, but because restraint preserves clarity. A disciplined person does not need every desire answered. He understands something powerful. The appetite never disappears. It simply changes clothes. Give a man luxury, and soon luxury becomes normal. Give him status, and he immediately fears losing status. Give him more, and desire quietly asks for even more. This is why uncontrolled desire creates permanent dissatisfaction. Not temporary dissatisfaction, permanent dissatisfaction. Stoics know these, and modern economies quietly depend on this psychological weakness. A content person buys carefully. A restless person buys endlessly. So society trains restlessness. No, you see, Procopton, there is nothing wrong with achievement. The danger is attachment. A man may possess wealth without becoming possessed by it. But few notice the moment ownership reverses. Part 4. Inner wealth. This stage changes a person completely, because now, wealth is no longer emotional. Money becomes useful, but not sacred. The person understands, peace cannot be purchased, only protected. This is where many Stoic principles finally become real. The dichotomy of control, temperance, detachment, moderation. The individual stops measuring life through comparison. And comparison is one of the greatest destroyers of modern peace. Social media has turned envy into a daily ritual. People no longer simply live. They perform life for witnesses. But the Stoics understood something timeless. The need to be admired creates endless instability, because public opinion changes hourly, and any identity built upon external validation becomes fragile. So the person in this stage begins simplifying internally, not externally for aesthetics, internally for freedom. They no longer need to impress strangers, no longer panic over temporary setbacks, no longer feel emotionally destroyed by another person's success. And something remarkable begins happening. Their thinking becomes clearer, because emotional noise decreases. The mind becomes lighter when it is no longer carrying unnecessary desire. Now we have reached the final stage. Part 5. Philosophical wealth. Very few people ever arrive here, not because it requires extreme intelligence, but because it requires surrendering illusion. At this stage, wealth is no longer measured financially first. It is measured psychologically. The person finally understands. Freedom was never about possessing everything. It was about no longer being possessed. This person may still pursue success, still build businesses, still invest, still earn greatly, but internally, they remain steady. Loss does not destroy them. Success does not intoxicate them. Praise does not inflate them. Criticism does not collapse them. They understand something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Nothing external can permanently stabilize an unstable mind, and this realization changes everything. Because now, peace is no longer postponed. The person stops saying, "I will finally relax when," because they understand the sentence never ends. The target simply moves, and this is why so many people become rich without becoming free. Their conditions improved. Their consciousness did not. No, money only reveals the stage. By learning to govern himself before trying to govern circumstances. Stoics know most people spend their entire lives chasing wealth, without realizing they are actually chasing emotional safety. But emotional safety cannot be purchased externally, and not permanently. A fearful man with money often becomes afraid of losing it. An insecure man with status becomes dependent on protecting it. An undisciplined man with wealth simply gains larger appetites. This is why Stoicism remains timeless. It does not reject money. It rejects psychological slavery completely. And perhaps that is the real question beneath this entire conversation. Not, how much money do you have, but how much of your peace depends on it? Because that answer reveals your true stage of wealth.